the only real way to find out how the KF performs, and I don't see where it would be that big a deal, where you could take even a Piper Cub and use it as a full-scale radio-controlled aircraft, so that you don't put anybody in danger, and fly it and get readings on it in terms of how it's doing, how it performs.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, so many people tend to want facts and figures, just facts and figures, but that's not always the whole story,
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's what I've seen,
that,
especially.
What you're doing is far closer to the reality than what anyone might think in terms of, where's all the data,
Yeah.
But you don't fly with data, I mean, it's helpful, but it doesn't make you fly right,
Mm-hmm.
necessarily.
That's what I've seen in some of the airplanes that I've built with the KF airfoil. The only KF airfoil that I've actually built was the KF2.
Yes.
Because it's like the simplest one.
Yes.
And I had an airplane that I designed. I'll post a picture up on the screen right now. And it was a delta wing, and then the motor was in the middle of the plane, and then I had the KF2 airfoil going around it. And this was an airplane that I had designed in kind of the early stages of me learning how to fly RC. So I wasn't really sure if this was going to fly or not. And for the second I threw it, only on half throttle, very low throttle for a plane that big, or it wasn't that big, but it just flew really, really well. And what was really cool is I could get it really slow, very, very slow, and still be able to control it at slow speeds, which I've never seen before.
It somehow or other, because it utilizes displaced air, and I believe that it's here's something I experienced visually. Okay, one day I left a building, and I was standing under the eaves of the building because it was raining, not heavily, but there was a light rain coming down, and water was trickling off the roof. But when it reached the edge of the roof, it kicked back. Instead of going straight out and down, it kicked back. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'll bet that's what's going on with the air. When it goes over the KF step, it trips backwards. So imagine this rotation. It's like actually coming forward because it's starting to rotate. So some of the negative force of drag is possibly turned into a positive because it's employed. Now, the ironic part of it is, have you ever heard of the CAM effect?
No.
It's spelled K-A-M-M, and it's named after a German scientist named Winnebald Cam. I think he was an aerodynamicist. Winnebald Cam in the late 1930s shocked the racing world. At that time, racing cars were teardrop shaped, and everyone thought that is the most efficient aerodynamically designed body you can have. But Winnebald Cam said, no, I don't think so. And what he did is he chopped off the rear end of the teardrop, making a blunted rear flabbergasted that he would do something like this. Don't you know anything about aerodynamics? That doesn't work. That's going to create too much drag. Well, guess what? It went faster. It was more efficient. And the cam effect is now being used on just about every car you see today, including hybrids. Now, the hybrid is designed to be fuel efficient. If this were a bad shape, it wouldn't have a blunted rear end, but it does. Just take a look at all the cars around you. Every one of them, with maybe few exceptions, they all come with a blunted rear end, which is a step, if you will. Because what happens is when the air goes over the top of the car, it kicks back and sort of fills out the shape of the car and sort of becomes part of the car, which makes it more fuel efficient. Had you ever heard that before?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Well, that's the reason for it, and because believe me, they're not doing it because it looks pretty. You know, there's a very sound reason why it's being done that way, and I think I don't see physics changing completely away from that when it's applied to an airfoil. You know, it's got to have similar characteristics in terms of the way the fluid is going to perform. Again, from my perspective, you know, I'm not an expert, believe me, but just in observing how things are, they're you know, you're not going to necessarily get all the answers in a lab. You do it in the real world, and that's where it really pays off. You know, so it'll be very interesting to see how your testing goes. And but this Delta you flew was very stable at very low speed, right?
Yeah, it was stable at low speed, but unfortunately, when I got up past low speed and it was going faster, it became less stable. It became more pitchy. I think that was just because I had too much control surface, because I was trying to make it go slow. I didn't really want it to go fast.
Yeah.
And the shape of the wing and where the motor was, maybe perhaps the CG, but I don't think it was the KF airfoil itself that caused it to not perform as well at high speeds. I think that plane would be an interesting one to see what the KF4 would do, which is the step on the top and bottom.
Yeah, there are a lot of KF4s out there now, flying wings. There's I'm trying to think of the name of it, but I can't remember now. But there are just a number of different flying wings out there. The David is one, and there's Orlac, I think is the guy's name. He came up with a KFM4, and RDJ is another guy who came up with one. But they're out there, and it seems as though it's growing because I sent you that video by Tron of how to build a KFM4.
Yeah, I did.
Wing, right?
That was cool.
He did a terrific job, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, and have you seen some of his videos?
Yes, I have.
What did you think of them?
His flights are really stable. There's like no bumping around or anything in them.
And that's so with some pretty strong winds up there in Norway. From what he said, you know.
Yeah.
There was another video shot in California by this, I think he's Russian, I'm not positive about that. I just can't remember what country he's from because they change the name of these countries all the time. But he apparently was visiting out in California, and he sent his KFM-3 flying wing out almost 5 miles from where he was. I'll have to send you the link to that if I didn't already. But he actually thought he lost it at one point because he was commanding it to turn around and come home, and it wasn't responding. So apparently there was some radio problem, but then suddenly he was able to reconnect with it, and he got it home safely. But it's quite amazing when he wears one of these pieces on his head where he can actually see what's going on from the position of the aircraft. So
yeah, I'm looking at buying one of those.
oh my gosh, that is such a mind blower. You know something? When you think of it, how technology has changed so dramatically. It wasn't that many years ago that I'd be looking at military aerial shots of buildings being blown up or whatever, or people being strafed by drones, and the footage was just awful. It was blurry and jumping all over the place. And now people like yourself, for very little money, can put an aircraft up into the sky and fly around and get incredible footage on all sorts of scenery,
Yeah.
Did you happen to see the videos I sent you that Bixler did in Idaho, I think it was?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I mean, and I couldn't get over it. I mean, this guy is like skimming just a few feet off the ground. But he's miles away.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's mind-blowing. I mean, the fact that you could experience something like that, and it's of your own creation. You put the thing together, and it didn't cost you an arm and a leg. It's like, wow, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I've done that with my tricopter. I think the farthest I've gone out is about a mile.
Yeah.
I don't really want to risk it that much, but I haven't been able to build a airplane big enough to carry the HD camera that I normally carry. So when I do, which will probably be a KF airfoil on it, I think that'll be very interesting to fly FPV.
Yeah.
I also got that video that you sent me of that 20-foot wingspan plane with the KF3. It was the one with the KF3 airfoil.
Yeah. That was the 20-footer?
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't that amazing what that kid did?
It was really impressive how slow it went. I'll post the link in the description for everyone watching.
Yeah. And he's 16 years old. Talk about a problem solver.
Wow.
He had to come up with a lot of solutions in order to make that thing work, but he did it.
Yeah. I'm still amazed how slow it was flying.
Yeah, without falling out of the sky.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And it was increasing altitude, too.
Yes.
That was very impressive.
It's just that he couldn't loop it. He made the mistake of trying to loop it. Because it was totally underpowered.
Oh, yeah. But it still flew.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that. That was quite an accomplishment, I think.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean to cut you off short. We could talk all day, but my phone is about to die, unfortunately.
That's okay.
So, thank you so much for talking with me.
Oh, you're welcome, Lucas. It's my pleasure, too. It's enjoyable to talk with someone who's enthusiastic, and you know, every day is a learning experience. So, you know, it's what you create for yourself in terms of increasing your knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And we'll definitely stay in touch, and I'll let you know the progress of the my experiments going on with the KF airfoil.
Okay.
And so, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Okay, very good.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.